But that's not our only choice. What I choose to believe is that human beings have within them the capacity to learn how to use that freedom wisely. Wisdom is one of our spiritual gifts. We can learn to use our freedom of choice to bring about the greatest good for everyone and everything. Ultimately, that means all people, not just my clan or my tribe or my nation or my church, but the greatest good for everyone. Everyone on the entire planet, and then ultimately, as John was singing earlier, out across the entire universe. That's our destiny. But I have to confess that I've got some problems with the word God. It's hard for me to use it. The word has all of this negative baggage that it trails along behind it. I know we can use different words. We can say spirit, we can say divine mind, principle, and all of those things. And the fact is, though, that we're kind of stuck with the word. It's a word that's going to be around. We're going to hear it. We're going to use it. And what we have to do is find a way to reframe it, to understand when we hear the word, what does it mean to me? What does that call into consciousness for me? For me, I have to, every time I hear it, every time I use it, I have to do this mental reframe. I have to redefine what it means for me. And this is one of the great gifts that I found in Unity, because it gave me the ability to do that. In Unity, we say that God is the principle of goodness in action. And when we talk about the will of God, it's just one really simple thing. The will of God is that we grow to embody and carry out that principle of goodness in action. We embody it, and we carry it out, and we put it in action. That's the practical part. That's the practical part, action. And in this part of the world, in our Western culture, the great example that we have of that principle being embodied in action is the person of Jesus, the Christ named Jesus. That's part of our Judeo-Christian heritage in this part of the world. And you don't have to call yourself a Christian to follow that great example. That's the powerful thing about it. You don't have to do that. There's a Catholic theologian and priest from Switzerland called, his name is Hans Kung. And he talks about what it means to follow in the example of Jesus. And so here's what he says. He says, by following Jesus Christ, the human being in the world of today can truly, humanly love, act, suffer, and die in happiness and unhappiness, life and death, sustained by God, and helpful to men. And I would add, helpful to humankind. That's not just progressive, it's practical too. Listen to all the action words he has up there. Love, act, suffer, die. All of the human conditions that we are going to encounter in this lifetime. Like it or not, we're going to be happy and sad. Life and death are of supreme importance in this existence. All of those things. Being able to deal with all of those things, happiness, unhappiness, sustained by this transcendent reality or this principle of goodness in action that we can call God, Spirit, Buddha nature, be able to do that and learn how to give and to serve all the time. All during that. That was the life demonstration of the Christ named Jesus. To be able to go through life, to face challenges, and to still be able to learn, to serve, and to give. That's positive and practical Christianity. That's our positive approach to Christianity, is based on that kind of an idea. But it's more than that, because I'll tell you, if a Buddhist were to come along and was to read that quote from Hans Kung, they would have no problem seeing that as a description of what they would call a bodhisattva. The bodhisattva, that's an enlightened being who uses their spirituality, their spiritual gifts for a greater purpose in the world. They turn their enlightenment into action so that other people can come into greater understanding, greater enlightenment, to learn, to serve, and to give. You know, the purpose of our spiritual practices and the purpose of enlightenment is for the transformation of the world, not just the individual. Positive and practical, it means that our spirituality, whether it's Christian or Jewish or Buddhist, It has to lead to some kind of action out there in the world if it's going to remain vital and relevant. The best spiritual practices teach us how to become less self-centered and more world-centered. But in order to do that, we have to change. John was singing before that, nothing's going to change my world. Those were the words of a person who was deep in meditation. And we know that in prayer and meditation, we can touch that place within us where all of the chaos and strife ceases, that eternal holy place within us. It's there. That's part of our meditation and prayer teachings. But we can't stay there. We have to go back out into the world. And as soon as we are back out into the world, everything changes constantly. We're changing constantly. We're aging. We're changing. Everything around us is doing that.